There is an uncomfortable truth that many people are living with every single day. You don't lack knowledge. You're drowning in it. Podcasts play while you drive. YouTube runs during every break. Audiobooks whisper before you fall asleep. You listen to a lot. You understand a lot. You nod along because it all feels so true. And yet, your life stays almost exactly the same. Your work looks the same. Your habits remain unchanged. The important decisions are still postponed, just in the same familiar way. And somewhere inside, a quiet but familiar feeling appears. I'm trying. So why am I not going anywhere? Here's the truth. Many people believe they are learning, but in reality they are only consuming. Consuming to feel safe. Consuming to reassure themselves that they are growing. Knowledge becomes a soft blanket. It makes you feel like you're progressing, without asking you to change anything at all. You're not tired because you lack information. You're tired because too many insights have never been lived. And this is the paradox of our time. Never have humans learned so much, and never have so many people felt so completely stuck. There is a truth that, if you don't face it directly, you may spend years blaming yourself for the wrong reason. The problem is not that you don't know enough. The problem is that you absorb information faster than you can apply it. We live in an age where knowledge moves faster than action. One podcast can deliver 10 ideas. One video can offer 5 new perspectives. One book can open an entire mental framework. But your life can only change in very small, very slow steps. When the speed of input far exceeds the speed of application, something subtle begins to form. Psychological friction. Unused knowledge does not sit quietly in the mind. It accumulates. It creates pressure. It produces a vague, persistent feeling. I know so much. So why am I not better? The irony is that the brain loves the feeling of I get it. The moment you nod, the moment you think, that makes sense, the brain releases a sensation almost identical to real progress. But it is only the illusion of movement. No behavior has changed. No decision has shifted. No habit has been touched. Stoicism is very direct about this. A Stoic does not measure wisdom by how much you know. They measure it by what has become the way you live. You can quote Marcus Aurelius, but the real questions are these. How do you respond when you are insulted? How do you act when things are delayed? When no one is watching, do you still keep discipline with yourself? Here lies a crucial mental shift, one that is difficult to accept. Learning is not about taking in more. Learning is about stopping long enough for behavior to catch up with understanding. Sometimes the greatest step forward is not a new insight, but shutting off new inputs until you finally have the space to turn something you already know into something you actually live. When output begins to match input, knowledge stops weighing on the mind. It becomes propulsion. And from that moment on, you no longer learn to feel like you're progressing. You learn less. But everything you learn leaves a real mark on how you live your life. There is a subtle trap on the path of self-improvement, and most of us have fallen into it many times without noticing. It's the illusion of progress. It appears when taking in knowledge creates the feeling that you are changing, while in reality, nothing in your real life is different. You listen to a podcast and feel clarity. You read a passage and keep nodding. You watch a video and think, I get it. But the next morning, you wake up to the same rhythm, the same reactions, the same habits, the same familiar choices, so automatic they barely feel like choices. The ancient Greek philosophers warned about this early. They said that hearing philosophy without living by it is only decoration for the mind. In that state, knowledge doesn't make you stronger. It only makes you feel more informed inside your own head. Stoicism is especially strict here. For a Stoic, wisdom is not how well you can speak about an idea. It is whether you can keep what you know when life becomes uncomfortable. You can understand discipline. You can know time management. You can memorize every principle of deep work. But if tomorrow you still procrastinate the same way, still react emotionally the same way, still let circumstances pull you around, then that knowledge has not become yours. It only passed through you. The problem is not a lack of information. The problem is the growing gap between awareness and behavior. To face that gap, you need a tool that is calm and brutally honest. The awareness gap check. Not to judge yourself, not to shame yourself, just to see the truth. After every piece of content you consume, a talk, a chapter, a video, pause and ask one question. What behavior will be different today? Not what you understood, what you will do differently. If you cannot answer that, then no matter how good the content was, it is still sitting on the knowing side and has not touched the living side. And only when an idea crosses that line, from thought to action, from understanding to practice, from the mind into real life, only then does learning truly begin. There is a principle that feels strict, yet deeply liberating, if you truly want learning to turn into real change. It's the input-output rule. The rule is simple. For every hour you take in knowledge, there must be at least 10 minutes of real-world application. Not to optimize productivity, but to protect your clarity. Because when input grows faster than output, knowledge stops being a resource. It becomes a burden. Many skilled investors understand this early. They don't read every report. They don't follow every piece of news. They don't chase every new analysis. They strictly limit the information they consume to keep their decision-making clean and undistorted. Because in investing, just like in life, more information does not make you smarter. It only makes you slower. You can see this clearly in everyday life. You listen to 3 podcasts in a row. You watch hours of self-improvement content. You nod along, feel inspired, and walk away with the sense that you did something meaningful. But if you didn't try even one idea, that wasn't learning. It was entertainment, disguised as progress, and softened by guilt. Stoicism is blunt about this. For a Stoic, the value of an idea is not how beautiful it sounds, but whether it can stand when placed into action. So instead of measuring learning by time spent listening, we use a different measure, one that is calmer, sharper, and more honest. The input-output ratio. Not, how much did I learn today? But, from what I just consumed, what did I actually do differently? 10 minutes of application might mean writing down a clear decision, trying a small habit for one day, changing how you respond in a specific situation. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be real. And here is the rule in its most decisive form, the one that will save you from years of learning without living. If you cannot identify 10 minutes of application, stop taking in more information. Don't watch more. Don't listen further. Don't collect a bit more to feel complete. Because when action hasn't begun, more input only widens the gap between knowing and doing. Learning, in the Stoic sense, is not about filling the mind. It is about making life lighter, clearer, and steadier. And sometimes, the most important step in learning is not consuming one more idea, but stopping early enough so something you already know can finally become behavior. There is a common paradox of our time. The more people learn, the less they seem to change, not because the knowledge is wrong, but because it enters too fast, too densely, while our capacity to transform it is limited. It's the same with the body. Eating nonstop doesn't make you stronger. Eating just enough and fully digesting it does. A knowledge diet is the practice of facing that limit directly, reducing how much knowledge you consume so you can increase how much of it becomes lived behavior. Seneca offered a clear warning. Reading too many authors scatters the mind. Wisdom doesn't come from storing ideas, but from contemplating one until it genuinely changes how you live. One idea, fully lived, is worth more than 100 ideas heard and forgotten. In modern life, this becomes obvious. You can listen to dozens of podcasts each week, read stacks of books each year. But if tomorrow you still react the same way, organize your time the same way, make decisions the same way, then all that knowledge is just refined noise. By contrast, one podcast, one book, lived intentionally for 30 days, watching where you change, where you stumble, where resistance appears. That's when wisdom begins to take real shape. To do this, we need a disciplined practice, knowledge fast, a fast from new input, not forever, just long enough for action to catch up. 7 days, no new podcasts, no new books, no save this for later videos. Only return to what you already know but have never fully practiced. During those 7 days, every small decision becomes a test. Have I actually lived this yet? And in the quiet absence of input, you'll begin to hear more clearly where you've been avoiding action. A knowledge diet doesn't make you poorer in knowledge. It makes you richer in transformation. Because Stoics never asked, "How much do you know?" They asked only one question. Which of the things you know has actually become the person you are today? There was a period when I listened to podcasts almost every day. The content was smart. The concepts were sharp. The logic was sound. But my life looked almost exactly the same. Slowly, I noticed something uncomfortable. I was using knowledge as a shelter, consuming more to feel like I was progressing, while quietly avoiding action. Because action demands friction. Listening feels safe. So I gave myself one simple rule. After every piece of content, there must be 10 minutes of immediate application. If I couldn't see how to use it, I turned it off. No saving it. No, I'll do it later. The amount of knowledge I consumed dropped sharply, but my clarity increased. Decisions came faster. Actions became more decisive. And for the first time in a long while, I felt like I was truly learning. Not in my head, but in the way I lived. Insight. Less input at the right moment. Action is the only true measure of learning. You don't need another podcast. You need one small action. Because knowledge doesn't change anyone's life just because it's true. It only begins to matter when it passes through your hands and leaves a mark on how you live each day. Understanding more doesn't transform you. Living differently, even in the smallest way, does.